Radio.
Good day, welcome to your news at noon on Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith, and in your headlines today, ExxonMobil says Glenn Lal should have approached court sooner and that he sat on his hands for 5 years. Wales gas project contract leaves Guyana exposed to all risks but protects Exxon. IDB report says in the $900 million gas to shore project, feasibility hinges on price Exxon charges on gas. Release yellowtail production license to improve oversight. Article 13 tells government. Report not enough. Relatives of missing fishermen want closure. And 2 years later, unarmed man shot by police dies with bullets still lodged in his spine. Meanwhile, 53 days, no parliament. Norton says government ducking from scrutiny and oversight. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Nothing in life is free, but the MyDigiCell app is. You don't need to be on a data plan to use the app. You can conveniently chat with Ruby or an agent for help. Check your account balance, activate a Prime bundle, or gift it to a friend. Send credit. Check the Georgetown and Burpees Bridge schedules. Activate a roaming plan. Play Shake to Win for cool prizes. So don't worry about a data plan, buddy. Download the MyDigiCell app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store today. Digicel, better together.
And now for the news in detail. After putting up strong arguments in court that Kaieteur News publisher Glenn Lal has no right to file a court case challenging its terms of agreement with the government of Guyana, ExxonMobil subsidiary Esso is in the same breath saying that Lal is guilty of undue delay in bringing the court action. In fact, in the response to Lal's legal challenge to the government over the discriminatory tax provisions of the Stabroek Block PSA, Esso contends that Lal should not be granted the reliefs he is seeking because, and I quote, he sat on his hands for 5 years and allowed Esso and its co-venturers to expend huge sums of money to the tune of billions of US dollars, which could now be wasted. In January, the Kaieteur News publisher filed an action to challenge the petroleum agreement dated June 27, 2016, but the government of Guyana in the oil companies, that should be. In other news, all costs incurred by the contractor, American oil giant ExxonMobil Corporation subsidiary for the $1.3 billion gas to shore project is recoverable, whereas all costs incurred by Guyana is at the country's sole risk and is non-recoverable. This is according to the 2016 production sharing agreement for the Stabroek Block that Guyana signed onto. The gas to shore project was first touted as a $900 million project inclusive of a gas pipeline, a gas-fired power plant, and related processing facilities. However, Budget 2022 has confirmed this to be untrue and has in fact now confirmed a new price tag in excess of $1.3 billion. And moving on. Back in 2018, the Inter-American Development Bank had partnered with the state to conduct a feasibility study of the planned $900 million offshore natural gas pipeline. The primary objective of the study, which was executed by Energy Narrative for $70,000, revealed that the project's financial feasibility hinges on the price of natural gas that will be negotiated between the government and Esso. The consultant was keen to note that in this negotiation, Esso's priority will be to secure a price for the natural gas and the LPG that will provide the greatest return on investment. At the same time, the report said the government's priority is to minimize the cost of electricity generated with the supplied natural gas. It therefore means that a careful balance needs to be struck to ensure Guyana is not saddled with paying for gas at a price that only provides the greatest return to Exxon's affiliate. And I'll just tell you, the COVID-19 pandemic may have had a significant impact on the number of National Assembly sittings the people's representatives were able to keep. But there is no reason why the administration continues to limit the number of meetings that are currently being held, given the removal of COVID-19 restrictions and the extent of economic activity being undertaken by the administration. In fact, Not convening the legislative body on a regular basis seems to be in keeping with the government's posture to prevent oversight, incoming opposition leader Aubrey Norton has stated. Today makes 53 days since the last sitting on February 10, 2022. Norton said that he recognizes the quote-unquote undemocratic behavior of the government and would be making moves to address the inadequacies when he assumes his position in Parliament. In other news, given that production licenses for well developments in the Stabroek Block is dependent on the satisfaction of certain requirements, notably actions taken to ensure the integrity of the environment, Civil Society Group Article 13 is calling on the government to make this authorization public so that specialists and citizens could play an adequate oversight role. The body bemoaned the expediency in which state organizations work toward the approval of the $10 billion Yellowtail development project and thus sought to have the government involve non-governmental opinions through the release of the document. You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. We will resume with your news after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let's tell you that 29-year-old Winston Fraser, one of the two unarmed men who was shot by police almost 2 years ago, died in his wife's arms on Friday night at his East La Penitence Georgetown home. At the time of Fraser's death, bullet fragments were still lodged in his spine. Not only was he paralyzed by the shooting, but the remaining bullet fragments in his body caused him to develop other medical complications, and he was forced to live with severe pain until he drew his last breath. We heard of Fraser's final moments from his common-law wife, Nikita Field, who had to take over his role as the breadwinner of the family of three and still be his nurse 7 days a week, taking care of him and comforting him when he was in pain. A grief-stricken Field recalled that Fraser died in her arms a few minutes after 14 hours on Friday. And I'll just tell you, family members of the three fishermen who disappeared with a fishing trawler on Saturday, February 19th, said that a report on the mishap is not enough to give them closure. Finding their loved ones, dead or alive, will. The missing men, 45-year-old Anthony Harold Damon, the captain of the trawler and the father of three, 46-year-old Winston Sam, and 75-year-old Ronald Burton, all residents of Agricola on the east bank of Demerara, were part of a four-man crew that was scheduled to return home from sea on the same day the vessel reportedly sank. The vessel, identified as World Friend 307, reportedly sank in the coastal waters some 18 miles off Mycone. One of the crewmen, identified as Vincent Dazzle, survived the tragedy and was rescued by a passing boat, but his three workmates are still missing along with the trawler. Only a fishing net belonging to the vessel was reportedly found. And moving on, environmentalists are outraged that the Environmental Protection Agency has moved to approve ExxonMobil's fourth project, the Yellowtail development, and accepts its environmental impact assessment, even though the public remains completely unaware of whether their initial concerns have been addressed, as no follow-up meeting was held in this regard. But the executive director of the EPA, Kemraj Parsaram, has made it clear that the Environmental Assessment Board, which was tasked with the review of the document, gave the project its blessing. Hence, the EPA furnished the developer with the requisite approvals. And moving on, 39-year-old Wick Roy Mitchell, called Shatta, who was charged for the murder of his 16-year-old drinking partner back in 2020, was on Tuesday last set free when the case was discharged against him, owing to insufficient evidence. According to Mitchell's lawyer, the prosecution's case was based almost entirely on an alleged confession in a caution statement. The lawyer noted the court found that the caution statement that was given by Mitchell was not obtained voluntarily, and as such, it was declared inadmissible. The lawyer also shared that there were several other material discrepancies in the prosecution's evidence. Further, the main eyewitness, the dead teen's mother, was not convincing her testimony and contradicted herself. As such, the magistrate ruled that there was insufficient evidence for Mitchell to stand trial in the High Court for the murder of the teenage girl. And all tell you, Trinidad and Tobago's decades-old addiction to fossil fuel has resulted in negative impacts on the nation's economic health, especially in the face of price shocks and declining reserves. Unfortunately, this state of affairs only worsened after 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the region. To ensure its addiction does not lead to further economic hardships, the International Monetary Fund urged that the CARICOM state make a concerted effort to create robust renewable energy and non-energy sectors. The global financial watchdog made this recommendation, among others, following its February 9th meeting with Trinidadian officials. Before the pandemic, the report, which outlines the economic well-being of the CARICOM state, says Trinidad and Tobago was in the process of recovering from a prolonged period of poor economic performance. However, the pandemic interrupted this process and pushed the country back onto the path of further economic decline. And now we wrap things up with the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News. 28 years of service to the nation. It has been 28 long years that Kaieteur News has been privileged to serve this nation. We vow to continue to be a voice for all Guyanese. These have been long but fruitful years. We feel that we have shed light, facilitated some justice, and empowered frankness across Guyana. The struggle has just begun. There are bigger challenges now that oil is ours. We are resolved, fully committed, like never before, to lead the way. We must fight the fight for a better oil deal, and we will. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.